My name is Gloria Whitman. I'm 32 years old, and I can still see that moment like it's happening right now. The room glowed with candlelight, laughter bounced off the walls, the smell of grilled steak mixed with expensive perfume. And there I was, quietly sitting at the end of the table at my younger sister Sierra's engagement dinner. Sierra has always been the center of attention. Tonight was no different. Stunning in her red dress, flaunting that glittering diamond ring, commanding the room with every word. I had braced myself for a few harmless jabs, the kind of digs she liked to throw in front of others, but I hadn't expected her to humiliate me so openly. "This is my big sister, Judge Gloria," Sierra announced loudly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "She judges other people's families because she doesn't have one of her own." Then she laughed like she'd delivered the punchline of the year. A few people chuckled awkwardly. I sat frozen. Before I could speak, Ethan, Sierra's fiancé, stood up. He looked at me, then at Sierra, and said in a calm but firm voice, "The only judge in this room tonight is her. Tell everyone what really happened 5 years ago." The room fell dead silent. Forks and knives paused midair. Every eye turned to me. My heart pounded in my chest. I knew exactly what Ethan was referring to, the secret I had kept buried for years to protect Sierra, to preserve what little peace our family had. But now the spotlight was on me, and for the first time I wondered, maybe it was time the truth came out. If you grew up in a family like mine in Austin, you'd know every household has the perfect child and the one who gets away with everything. Ironically, I was the perfect one. And also the invisible one. Since I was a kid, I did everything right. I finished my homework without being asked, washed the dishes, earned top grades. I lived by the book. Sierra, on the other hand, was Sierra. 2 years younger than me, effortlessly beautiful, endlessly chaotic, and always somehow excused no matter what she did. I still remember the time I got an A in advanced math. It sparked a full-blown family meeting about how I was lowering my standards. Meanwhile, Sierra once skipped school for an entire week to follow her favorite band to Dallas, and Mom said she was exploring the world. Every time Sierra came home past midnight, Dad would shrug. "She's just spirited." When she smashed her 3rd phone that year, Mom's solution was, maybe she needs a sturdier one. Me, I was expected to be strong always. I learned that love in our household came as a reward for achievement, not something given freely. And I believed it for far too long. I didn't blame Sierra back then. She was a teenager testing boundaries. I was the older sister, the one who told herself, "That's what family is. You carry the weight." I covered for her when she lied. I apologized when she broke someone else's property. I even used part of my scholarship money to buy her a new laptop when she lost hers. When I got accepted to UT Austin's law school, no one threw a party. My parents said, "Good. Now maybe you can help Sierra with that car accident thing." I smiled, like I always did. Back then I thought I was doing the right thing, but slowly I began to understand love shouldn't mean disappearing. I didn't go into law for power or prestige. I chose it because I believed in justice, in truth. And maybe deep down, I hoped that if I followed all the rules long enough, did everything right, my family would finally see my worth. I poured myself into law school at UT Austin. No parties, no glamorous spring breaks. I worked 2 part-time jobs, one at the campus library, another at a small downtown law office. I paid my own rent, tuition, groceries. Meanwhile, Sierra took a gap year to find herself, lived in an apartment paid for by our parents, and posted about growth on Instagram. I wasn't jealous. At least, I didn't think I was. I just felt invisible. I hit every benchmark, every milestone, but at family dinners, I was still Gloria the good daughter with nothing new to say. When I passed the bar on my first try and landed a job at one of Austin's top family law firms, my mom said, "Well done. By the way, did you help Sierra file that license renewal?" I smiled. Of course I had. what I did. But something shifted the day I met a 6-year-old girl caught in the middle of a brutal custody battle. Her parents were tearing each other apart, and the court was failing her. I couldn't forget her eyes wide, silent, desperate for someone to care. That was the moment I knew I had to do more. I left the firm and applied for a judgeship in the family court system. At 29, I was appointed one of the youngest female judges in Texas. I thought maybe my family would be proud. At our dad's birthday dinner, Sierra raised her wine glass and said, "Cheers to my big sister. Now she gets paid to break up families. Perfect job for someone who can't start her own." Everyone laughed. So did I. But inside, all I felt was emptiness. I've never liked late-night phone calls. They always carry that weight, that instinctive dread that something terrible is about to happen. And that night, exactly 3:12 a.m., the call came. And it changed everything. "Gloria!" Sierra's voice was trembling so faint I had to sit up to hear her. "I need help. Please, don't tell Mom and Dad." I threw on a coat, grabbed my keys, and rushed out the door. She told me to meet her at a rundown motel on the east side of Austin, a place I usually avoided at all costs. But there was no hesitation, only urgency. My sister needed me. When I arrived, the place looked worse than I'd imagined. Peeling paint, flickering lights, a rusted ice machine. Room 117 was at the very end. The door creaked open when I knocked gently, and I froze. Sierra stood there, one eye swollen shut, lip bleeding, hands trembling. Her clothes were wrinkled, her hair matted. But that wasn't what stopped me cold. It was the child sitting quietly on the bed behind her. A little girl, barely 3, clutched a tattered teddy bear, staring at me with wide, silent eyes. She didn't cry. She just watched. "Sierra," I whispered. "Who is that?" Sierra broke down, collapsing to the floor. "Lily," she choked out between sobs. She's my daughter." No. It couldn't be. I had no idea my sister had been pregnant. No one did. She'd hidden everything like she always did, but this time, the secret was a human being. Through sobs, she told me bits and pieces. She'd planned to give Lily up at birth, but couldn't go through with it. Her boyfriend, the one who hit her tonight, had just found out and exploded. Lily had been left alone all day, barely fed, terrified. I looked from my broken sister to that silent, fragile child, and I knew I couldn't walk away. Not that night. Not ever. "We're going to the hospital," I said calmly. "You need help, and she needs a chance to live." That was the first time I held Lily in my arms. I didn't know I was holding my whole life. I never thought I'd become a mother, and I certainly never imagined the first moment of motherhood would happen under harsh fluorescent lights, in an ER beside a silent little girl lying on a hospital bed. Lily was severely malnourished, had an untreated ear infection, and was clearly the victim of long-term neglect. I spent the entire night in the waiting room, filling out forms, answering nurses' questions, speaking with Child Protective Services. When the social worker finally looked at me and asked, "Would you be willing to take temporary custody?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes, I'll take care of her." The words came from a place deeper than thought. I brought Lily home to my small one-bedroom apartment in downtown Austin. It wasn't child-proof. It wasn't spacious. But I cleared off shelves, moved furniture, bought a twin mattress, and laid it beside my bed. Lily didn't speak much at first, but every night I sang her a song, something about a scared dinosaur and a nightlight. She'd clutch her frayed teddy bear and inch closer to me bit by bit. That became our life for several months. I learned how to make toddler-friendly meals, how to manage sudden meltdowns, how to love with patience, with soft hands, with silence. Then one night I collapsed in the bathroom from excruciating pain. I was rushed into emergency surgery. Diagnosis: a ruptured appendix with a severe infection. The operation saved my life, but it left lasting damage. Weeks later, a doctor told me gently I would never be able to carry a child. I went numb. No tears, no screaming, just a deep, echoing hollowness inside me. But when I came home and saw Lily run toward me, tiny arms wrapping around my waist, whispering, "I thought you left forever," I realized something. I didn't need to give birth to Lily to be her mother. I already was. 8 months after that night at the motel, Sierra came back. She showed up at my apartment door on a sunny March afternoon, looking healthy, polished, like she'd just stepped out of a wellness retreat. Standing beside her was a sharply dressed man in his 40s, with calm eyes and a practiced smile. He introduced himself as Derek Monroe, Sierra's new boyfriend, a successful real estate developer. I barely had time to process before Sierra looked me straight in the eye and said, "I'm ready to be a mom now." Just like that, flat certain, as if Lily were a suitcase she'd left behind and decided to reclaim. I tried to stay calm. "Sierra," I said slowly, "Lily is doing well. She's in therapy. She has routines. She feels safe. A sudden change wouldn't be good for her." "She's my daughter," Sierra replied coldly. "I know I messed up, but I've changed. I have the right to raise my own child." She spoke like the past 6 months had meant nothing, like I'd just been babysitting. I wanted to argue, to scream that parental rights aren't about biology but presence. But then Derek added, "We have legal counsel." I understood. They had money. They had a plan. And me, I was just a single woman with temporary custody recovering from surgery and no legal grounds to fight long term. The system wouldn't back me, not then. I tried to negotiate, offered gradual reunification, family therapy, a transition period. But Sierra wanted it all now. I had no choice. On the day Lily left, I packed her things with care, her favorite stuffed dinosaur, her books, her nightlight. I explained as gently as I could. But when Sierra carried her out the door, Lily sobbed uncontrollably. "I want to stay with Aunt Glo," she cried. I didn't know a heart could fracture into that many pieces. That night, I sat alone in Lily's room, staring at her empty pillow, listening to the recording of the dinosaur songs she loved. And I realized something chilling. I hadn't just lost a child. I had lost a part of myself. At first, I tried to believe Sierra had changed. She sent the occasional update, a photo of Lily at the park, a short video of her laughing in a new dress. I saved every image, watched each clip dozens of times, telling myself I had done the right thing, that I let Lily return to her birth mother for her own good. But then, the updates slowed. The next video call was canceled because Lily's not feeling well. Then Derek's out of town. Eventually, there were no more calls. I texted happy birthday to Lily, no reply. I tried calling. The number was disconnected. I thought about flying out searching for them, knocking on doors if I had to. But Sierra never gave me a full address, just that they'd moved near Denver. Slowly, Lily began to disappear from my world, and I could do nothing but watch. Time passed. I returned to work at the courthouse, threw myself into the job. But every time I presided over a custody hearing, I thought of Lily. I wondered where she was, who was tucking her in, whether she still slept with her frayed teddy bear. 3 years went by. Then one day Marcus Caldwell, Sierra's new fiancé, whom I'd only met briefly, asked to speak with me. We met at a coffee shop near the Travis County Courthouse. He looked tense, like someone carrying a secret that had grown too heavy. Gloria, Marcus began carefully. "I'm sorry to bring this to you, but I found records related to Lily. I nearly dropped my coffee." He explained that while handling a child protection case, he stumbled across Sierra and Lily's names in an old file. Then digging deeper, he discovered something unthinkable. Lily had been placed in foster care after Sierra left her with a man, Derek, who later surrendered custody because he had no legal rights to keep her. I sat frozen. Lily, the child I had fought for, held through nightmares, built a life around, had been abandoned again. Only this time, no one called me at 3 a.m. No one showed up asking for help. I couldn't breathe. Anger surged, and pain bone deep and suffocating. "I need to find her," I told Marcus, my voice steady. I failed her once. I won't fail her again. Ever since Marcus told me the truth, I hadn't been able to sleep. One question looped in my mind endlessly. Where is Lily? Is she okay? Does someone sing her the dinosaur song at night? I knew I couldn't wait on the system. I'd worked in the courts long enough to understand if you want something truly done, you have to move first. Marcus connected me with a friend at Child Protective Services in Travis County. She agreed to search for Lily's placement file. It took 3 days, 3 agonizing days where my mind drowned in worst-case scenarios. On the 4th morning, I got her message. We found her. Lily's with a foster mom named Eleanor Reed north of Austin. I sat motionless in my office chair, my eyes stinging. She was still nearby. She was still in the system. And I, despite everything, still had a chance. That afternoon, I drove to Eleanor's house. It was a modest single-story home with a porch swing and toys scattered across the lawn. When she opened the door, I introduced myself, explained who I was. I didn't beg or demand. I just asked if I could see Lily. Eleanor invited me in, cautious but not unkind. She told me Lily was smart, very smart, but guarded. She had deep fear of abandonment. She tested people with silence, with anger, with those watchful eyes. But there was something strange. She talks about someone called Aunt Glow, Eleanor said. Someone who used to sing her a dinosaur song. I couldn't hold back tears. That's me. Eleanor nodded. I figured. We agreed that our first meeting would be short. No pressure, no expectations. When Lily stepped into the room, her hair longer, her expression still wary, I stood up heart-pounding. She stared at me for a while, then asked quietly, "Do you know the dinosaur song?" I nodded, choking up. "Yes, and if you want, I'll sing it right now." That first visit only lasted 15 minutes, but to me it felt like a lifetime. Lily didn't hug me. She didn't call me Aunt Glow like she used to. But she sat beside me, asked about her torn teddy bear, and quietly hummed along when I sang the dinosaur song I used to lull her to sleep with. It wasn't some dramatic movie reunion. It was quiet, fragile, cautious, but it was real. I began visiting Eleanor's house a few times a week, always on Lily's terms. Some days she ran to the door when I arrived. Other days she stayed curled up on the couch, avoiding eye contact. I never pushed. I just showed up again and again with the same unspoken message, I'm not leaving. Gradually, she opened up. She told me about her school, her best friend Mia, and a superhero lawyer character in a book she loved. Every story she shared felt like another brick laid between us, slowly rebuilding a bridge I'd feared was gone forever. But I knew if I truly wanted to protect her again, this time for good, I had to act. I reached out to a former legal colleague. I contacted Marcus, who'd stayed respectfully distant but was ready to help. I dug up the old paperwork from my previous temporary guardianship, and then I filed a formal petition for full legal custody. I knew it would stir the family hornet's nest. And it did. Within days, Sierra called not to check on Lily, but to accuse me. "You're trying to steal my child," she screamed. "You've always been jealous of me. Now you want to play mommy. Go ahead, Gloria. I've got money. I've got lawyers. What do you have?" I kept my voice calm. I have Lily, and I have the truth. I was no longer the quiet one at the family dinner table. I was a woman ready to stand in court, look everyone in the eye, and say, "This is the child I loved, raised, and should never have been torn away from." This fight wouldn't be easy, but I was ready. I'd sat through hundreds of custody hearings, but never as a petitioner. That morning inside the Travis County Family Court, everything felt familiar and foreign at once. The chairs, the white walls, the Texas state seal, all things I'd known for years. But I wasn't in a black robe. I wasn't on the bench. I was the one fighting not for some abstract idea of justice, but for a little girl I loved as my own. My attorney Shannon Reese presented a strong case my prior temporary custody, the care I gave Lily, the fact that Sierra abandoned her a second time, and the emotional progress Lily had made since we reconnected. Eleanor took the stand next. She spoke about Lily, how the girl began sleeping better, having fewer meltdowns, becoming more hopeful. She believes Ms. Whitman won't disappear again, Eleanor said. I clenched my hands, my eyes burning. And then Marcus took the stand. I hadn't known he'd come, but there he was, steady eyes locked on Sierra, then on me. After being sworn in, my lawyer asked, Mr. Caldwell, what is your connection to this case? He took a breath. I was once engaged to Sierra. I discovered Lily's situation while reviewing a separate CPS case. I confronted Sierra. She denied everything. But Gloria told me the truth. Opposing counsel objected bias irrelevance. But Marcus remained calm. I'm a prosecutor. I know when someone's lying. Gloria isn't. Silence filled the courtroom. I caught my mother's expression behind me, conflicted, unreadable. She had always defended Sierra. But now? She said nothing. When I took the stand, I told it all. No sugarcoating, no dramatics, just facts. I spoke of lullabies, of the severed calls, of what it feels like to lose a child no one admits you were a mother to. And I ended with this. I don't need biology to be a mother. I need a chance. I'm asking the court to give me that chance again. The ruling came on a Friday morning in a courtroom I'd once entered as a judge, now waiting as someone whose entire world hinged on another's decision. I arrived early, sat still in a wooden pew, hands clasped. Across the aisle, Sierra walked in with her attorney. She looked polished in a pearl-colored dress, makeup flawless. But something had shifted. Her eyes no longer held confidence. She didn't look at me. My parents sat between us. My mother's face was unreadable, straight ahead. My father stared at his hands. Judge Ellen Masters entered. A seasoned woman I'd once worked alongside during an appellate case. She was fair, unswayed by theatrics. I knew whatever came next, it would be thoughtful and final. This court, she began, considering the best interest of the child based on testimony, evidence, and caregiving history from both parties. I held my breath. Grants full legal and physical custody of Lily Morgan to Ms. Gloria Whitman. I didn't hear the rest. The room blurred in tears. I lowered my head, hands to my face, not out of triumph, but relief. For the first time in years, I knew Lily wouldn't be taken from me again. Sierra shot to her feet. What she shouted. She's not her mother. Ms. Morgan, Judge Masters said firmly, if you cannot maintain courtroom decorum, you'll be asked to leave. Her lawyer tugged her sleeve, pulling her back. But in Sierra's eyes, for the first time, there was fear. Real fear. My mother stood. I expected her to follow Sierra out like always. But instead she turned to me. If she still remembers the dinosaur song, she said softly, sing it to her tonight. I froze. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't congratulations, but it was acknowledgement. For the first time, my mother saw me not as the other daughter, but as a real mother. Lily moved in on a crisp autumn afternoon. The Austin sky was clear blue, sunlight pouring through the window onto the little bedroom I'd spent a month preparing. Soft lilac sheets, a bookshelf full of picture books, a brand new stuffed dinosaur waiting on her pillow right next to her old frayed teddy bear. I really get to stay here forever, Lily whispered. I knelt beside her, took her hand. Yes, sweet pea. This is your home. Our home. The days that followed weren't perfect. Lily still carried old fears, the fear of being left again. Every time I left for court, she asked, "You'll come back, right?" And I always answered, "Always." I adjusted my caseload, took fewer hearings, drove her to school every morning, picked her up every afternoon. I learned to cook her favorite meals, taped her drawings to the fridge, and every single night, no matter how tired I was, I sat by her bed and sang the dinosaur song. Then one night, as I pulled the blanket over her, Lily turned to me and asked, "Can I call you Mom?" I couldn't speak. Tears came before the words did. "I just want to make sure you're not leaving." I pulled her close. "Never," I whispered. "I'm right here, always." After that, she started calling me Mom. Not all the time, sometimes still Aunt Glow, but when she said Mom, it was soft, steady, like a seed of trust finally taking root. My parents slowly came around. My mother started visiting, bringing homemade cookies. My father helped hang a swing in the backyard. No one spoke about the past, but no one pretended it didn't happen either. We were rebuilding quietly, honestly. 6 months later, the court finalized the adoption. Lily officially became Lily Whitman. I became her legal mother. But it wasn't just a paper. It was a recognition of everything we'd been through, that love isn't defined by biology, but by choice, consistency, and never walking away. That night, Lily gave me a drawing, 2 figures, one tall, one small, standing under a smiling sun. At the bottom, in crooked letters, it read, "Me and Mom, forever."